I'm paying you $15 for a roast beef and cheese sandwich. I can't get back there and make the sandwich myself. So what are we doing here? Why am I being asked to tip 25, 30% on a sandwich? Welcome to Soft Life, Hard Truths, where lifestyle dreams meet bank account realities. I'm your host, Teigen Jay. Come on in. I want you to stay. Y'all are back with me another week. How is everyone doing? How was your weekend? How are things going? I hope well. And if they're going bad, I hope they get better. My week is going okay. I had a really good weekend, a really good weekend. I spent a lot of time with friends, just being outside. I was on a boat, having a good time, a good time. So that good weekend has helped this week be a little bit better. So yeah. So guys, we got some good topics today. We have some really good topics. Let's hop right in, shall we? So, if you guys are on TikTok, you probably have seen the running joke about people are getting out of hand. And really what that means is that people are gaining weight. And so the guy who created this, he's like, you guys can't get out of hand. You can't go off to Jamaica thinking you're going to get on the rafts and you're just getting out of hand. So basically he's saying, watch your weight, watch your health. And so it got me to thinking, right? How does finances tie into physical fitness? So I did some research and I just got to thinking, and I'm like, hmm, that would be a really good topic. So, from my research, here's what I found. Finances can significantly impact physical fitness. Financial stress can lead to poor health habits and increased health risks, which makes sense, right? Conversely, a focus on physical fitness can positively influence financial well being. So, let's first talk about how finances impact your physical health. Um, let's just say you are a person that is not um, in a good financial position right now, right? Or you live in an area that's really not affluent. I know we've previously talked about lower income areas and how a lot of time they're like food deserts. And so if you know that there's a food desert, 9 times out of 10, there's probably not going to be a gym anywhere in sight. And so one of the points that my research listed was that you have limited access to healthy options. So that includes fresh foods, gyms, running clubs, anything that's promoting eating healthy and physical activity. You do not have that. And then also, when you think about finances, if your finances aren't in a good position, if you are lower on the financial totem pole, and you're always stressing about finances and worried about finances, you can cope with that in an unhealthy way. And so a lot of people, whether they realize it or not, they end up coping in ways that go against physical fitness, right? That could be smoking, that could be bad eating habits. A lot of people stress eat. You having a bad day, hey, I just need a good meal just to make the day better. Or I want to my day sucks, so I want something sweet. I'm gonna go get a pint of Bluebell ice cream. Those are the type of things that you deal with when you are trying to cope with dealing with when you're dealing with coping with not being where you want to be financially, having those strains on you. And another point that I thought was very interesting that I found was that a lot of times when finances are tight, a lot of people will work multiple jobs. And you having to leave a 9 to 5 to go to a 7 to 3 job, your second, third shift job back to back, who has the energy to even think about working out, let alone going to actually work out? Who has the energy and effort to put into making sure that, okay, whatever food I'm eating or I'm going to provide to my kids, it has to be fresh, it has to be healthy. You don't have the energy to do that. Your mind is literally on making ends meet. And I know I'm tired from my one job. So anybody that's working multiple jobs, I know they are stressed out. I know they are. So now let's flip it, right? Let's talk about how physical fitness can impact your finances. From my research, I have found that if you are physically fit, you increase your risk of being healthier. And by being healthier, you are, in essence, reducing your health care, right? You may not deal with some of the health issues that come from not being physically fit, working out, being obese. You don't have as many, in essence, doctor's appointments. You don't have as many lab visits. It all kind of equals up if you really think about it. And then another thing that I found was that you have increased productivity. So have you ever heard anybody say, okay, if you're stressed, go for a run or go for a walk? Research shows that the physical activity does help reduce stress. It helps you clear your mind. It helps with mental clarity. And in essence, it helps you make better financial choices. So, in essence, how physically fit you are does impact your finances. It does. And your finances does impact your physical activity and overall your physical fitness. I thought that was really, really interesting. So tell me what you guys think about that in the comments. It was just a random thought, and hey, there's a correlation there. And another reason I thought about that was because I am starting my fitness journey, and so I'm trying to get my life right, and it was just a thought that popped in my head. So I thought that was a really good topic for today. Okay, next topic, tipping culture. I know this one can cause a lot of people to sway one way and a lot of people to sway the other way. Let's talk about tipping culture. Tipping used to be back in the day, it would be mainly for when you would go to sit down restaurants and you were serviced by a waiter or waitress, right? And then also it was mainly for service providers like a beautician, your nail techs, someone along those lines, or your barber. Um, it was normal to tip then, right? That was the protocol. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, back in the day, tipping started out, if not at 10%, 15. That was like, that was the norm. And so now we are up to like what, 20, 25%, 30%. I've been places where they actually, you want to tip 15, 20, 25, 30%, which to me is absolutely insane. Um, my personal opinion on tipping, I feel like the consumers are put in a rock and a hard place. We know that majority of these people live on tips, right? We know that this is their bread and butter. They're only being paid a couple of dollars by whatever the company is. I think it's $2.15 per hour for minimum wage restaurant workers, right? So tips are where they get the bulk of their money. I do not believe that it is fair, and I do not believe that it should be legal that these companies get out of paying their employees and they put the onus on the consumer. I do not believe that that is fair. Because, one, if you think about it, let's just talk about your average restaurant, right? If you think about it, you are already paying for the service. You're paying for the food to be cooked and you're paying for it to be serviced to you. Because I cannot go in the back and make my own food. I cannot go in the back and bring my food to me. When I need other things for my meal or for this experience, I cannot physically get up and do those things, right? I am not an employee. I do not work there. So therefore, I have to rely on you for that, which is why we are paying an inflated cost. You could buy a steak at the grocery store. Let's just say, I know food is a lot more expensive nowadays, but let's just say you can get you a ribeye steak grocery store, $30. You pair that with some asparagus, which $2. And then you pair that with a salad, let's just say $3. That is under $40. But when I go to the restaurant, I am paying $175 for this same meal. Now I get everything is not this expensive, but let's just talk in general, right? And you realize, okay, I'm paying 150, 170 for this. Your waitress or waiter that has to bring out my meal, service me, refill my drinks, take my order, to me, that should all be a part of the price that I am paying to dine at this establishment. And you, as the business owner, should be responsible for ensuring that your employees are making a livable wage. I do not believe that it is fair to put that on the consumer. It is not right. But I do understand that we can live in shoulda, coulda, wouldas all day long, right? The reality of it is, what is that the onus is on the consumer. We are responsible for tipping and making sure that these employees have a livable wage. So therefore, I do tip, but I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right. Tell me what you think in the comments. Let me know how you feel. I think we are letting these companies off the hook, and I don't think it's okay. I don't, and I feel like we're at a point now where we are dealing with tipping fatigue. Because now, if you think about it, everywhere you go, you are asked to being tipped. I went to a sandwich shop the other day, and they want to be tipped for the meal. Why am I being asked to tip someone for making my sandwich when I'm paying you $15 for a roast beef and cheese sandwich? I can't get back there and make the sandwich myself. So what are we doing here? Why am I being asked to tip 25, 30% on a sandwich at a fast food place? This is fast food. This is not sit down. I'm not having my beverage refilled. I'm not having utensils brought out to me. I'm literally having to go in the line, stand in line, place my order, tell the employee what I want on the sandwich. Then I'm having to go further down the line and pay. What am I tipping for? Now, I get there are instances where people go over and beyond. I do understand that that happens. And for those one-offs, hey, I'm all for it. I am all for it. But just on a normal day, I'm placing an order, you make the sandwich, you give it to me. I do not feel that it is my responsibility to tip. And I really wish that a lot of these companies will pull back on that, because it is causing tipping fatigue. Everybody wants a tip on top of a tip on top of a tip. Even when you go out to the restaurants, a lot of places now, they will charge gratuity, and you cannot, and they'll ask you to tip on top of the gratuity. And it could just be you and another person. Why am I being charged gratuity is only two people? I understand gratuity for parties of 6 and more, completely understood. But if it's just me or another person, what is the point of that? And then you want me to tip on top of that? Is that not a bit much? Before it's all said and done, you're paying almost an extra 35% on top of your meal, which is insane. And I know a lot of people feel, hey, if you don't have the money to tip, you need to stay home. I understand both sides, both ends of the spectrum. I do. I truly get it. But I do believe we are letting these companies off the hook, and it's not okay. That's just my opinion. That's just how I feel. Tell me how you feel in the comments. What are your views and thoughts on tipping culture? Do you believe that it's gotten out of hand? Let me know. Let's talk about it. All right. Next topic. Recession indicators. So, if I'm not mistaken, we have not officially been declared as being in a recession. Why? I don't know, because the flags are waving and they're red. They're screaming at us. We're in a recession. I don't know why they don't want to call it, but we are. Food is higher than it's ever been. Prices are steady rising. Gas prices are increasing. We're now dealing with the tariffs, so that inflated cost is now being passed on down to the consumer. More people have been laid off more than ever now. So there are a lot of people losing jobs. The cost of living is steady rising. Things aren't looking good. I do not understand why we aren't considered to be in a recession right now. But anyways, let's look at some of the indicators that we are in a recession or that a recession is approaching. Um, One of the main things that is looked at is lower consumer spending. I think we all have noticed that. I've noticed when I've gone, even this weekend when I've gone out to restaurants, they are not packed as they normally are on a typical weekend. They aren't. There's spaces. There's not a long wait. Some places there are, but a lot of places they aren't. Um, just riding by, like downtowns, you'll normally see the streets packed. You know, the bars, the restaurants, the clubs, filled with people, lines to get in. Not so much now. Not so much. Where you would typically see hundreds and hundreds of people, it's pretty empty now. I do believe that these are signs of a recession. People aren't spending as they normally would. They're having to be tighter with their money. These are signs of a recession. Another sign is rising credit card debt and delinquencies. I do not know the stats right now, but I do recall that there has been a stat released that consumer credit card debt has increased, and people are behind on their credit card payments and their mortgages. That is an indicator. And another one I wanted to touch on just from observation is, have you guys noticed that a lot of restaurants are now having specials? And I'm talking restaurants that normally never have deals or have specials. They have deals and specials now, and it's almost like they're competing. Have you guys noticed that? Um, Wingstop is pretty expensive, in my opinion, when it comes to wings. And I've noticed that they have a deal. Buffalo Wild Wings, they have a deal. I'm seeing your upscale steakhouses, they're having deals. I don't know which one, but someone has a special going on where it's like a lobster roll and you get a glass of champagne and I think a side all for like under $40. There's another upscale steakhouse that is having a meal, I think a three-course meal for $55. These type things aren't the norm. I've never seen so many restaurants having so many specials and deals. And not only just the restaurants, but stores as well. My email is flooded with places having deals and sales, sales after sales after sales. It's almost like everybody is competing. It has ramped up a lot, and I've noticed that. You cannot tell me that that is not an indicator of them needing more money coming in, more money flowing in, so they have to push out the sales because people are being tighter with their spending, which they should, because we're living in rough times right now. And lastly, another indicator is the do it yourself beauty maintenance. I know you all have heard that normally in a time of a recession, there's I forgot what it's called, but it's something with the blonde where people that typically dye their hair blonde, they stray away from it now because, hey, we're in a recession, money is tight, keeping blonde is pretty expensive from my understanding. So you'll see people, go back to the browns, the reds, colors that are lower maintenance. And then also I read that increased lipstick sales are a recession indicator, which I did not know. Very interesting. So I guess it's those inexpensive beauty cosmetics that will help people, I guess, still feel beautiful, still feel like they can pour a little bit into themselves without spending so much money. So that does make sense. And I don't know if you guys have heard about all of the rhetoric that's going on with OPI and them releasing a do it yourself nail kit now. A lot of people are straying away from the salons, whether it's for your hair or your nails, and they're doing things themselves just to keep money in their pockets, which I highly encourage. Keep money in your pockets. I tend to do my own beauty upkeep for all that I can do for the most part, whether it's a recession or not. And that is how I have been able to save a lot of money. I will do my own hair, nails, lashes, all of that. I will, because sometimes these prices are just outrageous, and I don't care how much money how much money I have, I'm not paying some of these prices. $500-$600 for a hairstyle, it never gave that. I don't care how rich I am, it never gave that. No. So, yeah, guys, these are indicators that we are in a recession. Maybe one day they'll call it. Mm, until then, I guess we'll keep pretending. All right, now it's time for the finance column. Okay, guys. So, the tip for today is for those of you who use credit cards, you should be taking full advantage of your credit cards and you should be using it to your benefit. And by that, what I mean is don't get a credit card just to get a credit card. You need to be strategic in the cards that you open. I would not encourage you to open those cards like a JC Penney card or an Ulta card. You should look at a card that you can use outside of just that establishment. And then you should look at what type of perks does this card offer? Is it giving cash back? Is it giving me points that I can use toward future purchases or travel? A lot of you guys like to travel. I am really big on travel and using my credit card for those points. You want to fly around the world? You want to fly first class? Use the points for that. Don't get a credit card just to get one. And if you are going to use your credit card, make sure that it makes sense. Make it work for you. Um, One thing I strongly encourage people to do, pay your credit card off in full. And I know it's easier said than done. My motto is if I cannot afford to pay the balance off in full before the end of the closing period of the credit card statement, I'm not putting it on there because I'm not paying interest. The interest on these credit cards are absolutely insane, and I'm not paying it. And if you think about it, let's just say you do have a credit card that gives you, let's just say, 2 or 3% cash back on every purchase. If you're paying 15, 18, 24% in interest, are you really winning with that? No, you're actually not. But think about it, if you paid your card off in full every month, you didn't pay any interest, and you're getting that 2, 3% back on every purchase. Now you're talking. Now you're making your credit cards work for you. So keep that in mind as you are applying for a credit card or looking at a credit card to use. And I'm going to come back and talk about some really good credit cards that I would recommend. But keep that in mind when you are thinking about opening a card or when you're using one. Make sure that it makes sense and that it's the best card for you. Okay? All righty. All right. So now we are at the Hard Truth Hotline. We had another question to come in. So let's see what we have here. Hey, Teigen Jay, I need some real advice. I just got a raise at work, but somehow I still feel like I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I don't have a ton of debt, but my money disappears so fast. I want to start saving and doing better, but every time I try to budget, I feel overwhelmed and quit. How do I start getting my finances together without feeling like I have to give up everything I enjoy? Okay. I did not get the person's name, but listen here. Here's what's going on with you. This is what you call lifestyle creep. You said that you just got a raise at work, but you feel like you're living paycheck to paycheck. So, what's going on is when you get a raise, you increase your expenses. And people subconsciously do that. They are not aware that they do it. And I get that we get these raises and we want to, reap the benefits of our hard work. We got a promotion, we got a raise. I deserve this, I deserve that. And you do deserve it. You do deserve good things. You do. But we cannot accept lifestyle creep because you will always be in the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. I cannot stress enough on this podcast. If you don't take any advice from me, one thing I would love for you to take and apply it to your life is live below your means. With lifestyle creep, you are not living below your means. You're living right at your means, which is very dangerous because you are one paycheck away from being broke or one paycheck away from being homeless, and we don't need that. So, in order to prevent that, give yourself a one time treat or give yourself a quarterly treat instead of increasing all of your expenses to match this promotion or this raise that you have. You do not want to do that because then it's almost like you never got it. Do not do that. What you need to do is you need to take a breather. It may all be too much for you right now, and that's fine. I understand. Take you a breather. Day one, write down all of your expenses, everything that you have coming in and everything you have coming out. Write down your income and your expenses, everything you have coming in, everything you have going out. Close the book, put it away. Then day two, day three, take you a minute, go in and assess. Start cutting things. Start cutting things out. Expenses that you have that you can do without, cut them out. Cut them out. And the next time you get a promotion or a raise, take that money, take that increase, and instead of you applying it to your weekly spending or your monthly spending, and that's extra money for you to spend, put that right in your savings account. And if you have to treat yourself, if you feel like, oh, I just got to have something, do a small percentage. Whenever I get an increase in my salary, a raise, or whatever you want to call it, normally I go in and I take that money and I just increase the amount that I have going to my savings account. Because I'm already living on a budget that I'm comfortable with. Hey, I don't feel like I need to splurge or anything like that. But if I did feel like, okay, well, I want a little bit more money this time. With this raise, I want to spend a little bit more. Let's just say if my raise was $500 every paycheck, I get an additional 500. I'm not going to take that additional 500 and just add it to the money that I get to spend all willy-nilly. No, that is how you indulge in lifestyle creep. Don't do that. If you're getting an additional 500 every month, depending on how strict or how tight you want to be, I would say be as tight as you possibly can, because think about it. You didn't have the money before and you were just fine. Now, if you weren't fine, that's different. But let's just say you got $500. I would take probably $100 of that and give to myself every month. Okay, now I got an extra $100. I can do this, I can do that. The other 400 is going into savings. And I know that sounds crazy. I know it's tight. But think about it. You didn't have the money before. And if you can afford to do without it, do without it. You're going to see your savings shoot up. Your savings is going to grow like crazy. And every time you get a raise on top of that, give yourself just a little and then put the rest in savings. The next increase, you get an extra 500 a month. Give yourself another 100, put the other 400 in savings, and watch your savings just grow, 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 grow. I'm telling you, it is the best thing ever. It's all about living below your means. So, my friend, on the Hard Truth Hotline, you need to go in and you need to take a breather. You need to go in, assess your expenses. You need to start cutting some things. And that increase that you got, you need to figure out a way to take that from your checking and put that in your savings. Start cutting things, those subscriptions, the eating out, the DoorDash, all of that. Start cutting things. And you have to be really intentional about budgeting. You're going to have to sit down and create you a budget. You're going to have to. You need to know how much money you get to spend for leisure activities every month or every pay period, however you manage your finances. That is the only way you're going to be able to beat this lifestyle creep that you're dealing with right now. So give it a try. Let me know how it goes, okay? Let me know. I'm wishing you the best. All right, guys, we've come to the time for the hard truth of the week. Hard truth. Waiting for the right time is costing you time. I'll say that again. Waiting for the right time is costing you time. Let's talk about it. I remember I would always talk to my friends about wanting to start a business. And I would say, I want to do this business. I want to do this. I want to help people with their finances. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I would be saying that for years. And I would try to sit down and I would try to come up with a plan. And I would just get so overwhelmed that I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't do anything. And so before I knew it, years and years went by and I have done nothing to move the needle on that goal. It was because I was waiting for the perfect time. I was waiting for the perfect plan. I was waiting for the perfect audience. I was waiting for the perfect setup. I was waiting for everything to perfectly align before I got my feet wet. And there is where I went wrong. There's where I went wrong. I could be so much further along had I just started. Just do something. And this applies to all areas of your life. There will never be a perfect time for anything. Sometimes you're just going to have to take a leap of faith and just start moving. Things will work out as you make your way through. I started this podcast. I'd never done a podcast before. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And as I'm recording episode after episode, I am finding my way. I am tweaking things here and there. I am improving here and there. I'm setting milestones here and there. If you would have asked me if about this podcast setup, about the milestones, about the things that I want to accomplish, the people I want to work with, I couldn't answer you in the beginning. I could not, because I could not see all of this in the beginning. I couldn't. But what I said was, I was at the point where I said, I got to do something. I have to do something. So I just moved. I moved my feet. I just moved. And it is one of the best decisions I ever could have done because look where I am now. We're on episode 10. If you would have asked me, hey, can you give me 10 podcast episodes? No, I couldn't have. I would have had to make sure everything was perfect. I needed to make sure that the background was perfect. I needed to make sure that the guest list was perfect. I needed to make sure that the setup, the structure, the flow, everything was perfect. The video, the camera, the audio, everything had to be perfect, and I would still be waiting right now. I think we've been going for almost 2 months now. I would still be at podcast episode 0 had I waited for the perfect time. So, in essence, the perfect time may never come. Sometimes you just have to move your feet. The perfect time never comes, but discipline does. Move and just stick with it. Keep going. Keep pressing through. Keep getting through those obstacles, guys. We cannot wait for perfection. That may be your downfall, or that may be what stops you from even getting out there. So just keep that in mind, okay? I don't make the rules. I don't make the rules. I don't make them. That is the hard truth for the week. I don't make the rules. All right, guys, it is that time. Please subscribe, comment, like, share this with someone that you may find that you think will find interesting, that might enjoy this podcast, that can find some takeaways. Share with your people, trying to build a community here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your time. I see the views are growing, so that makes me very excited. So guys, your support means everything. Please continue to support, share, like, comment, subscribe. All right, guys, it is that time. Because you guys know it is always a celebration when we link up. It is always, 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 always. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you. I love you. Here's to softer living and truths that set you free.